The Nordschleife, 25 kilometers of asphalt that has broken legends. Cold, wet, unforgiving. And on this dark, gloomy morning, one man decided the conditions didn't matter. From fifth on the grid to first in 4 laps, Max Verstappen didn't just race at the Nürburgring Qualifiers, he owned it. But here's what nobody is talking about. Why did a car with a 32-second lead end up in 39th place? And was this really just bad luck, or something the team should have caught sooner? Because what unfolded on that legendary circuit wasn't just a race story. It was a masterclass in brilliance, followed by one of the most painful collapses of the weekend. Stay with me, because this one hits different. Before a single wheel turned in anger, the weekend already carried weight. The skies above the Nürburgring were dark, the track was cold and wet, and on the grid, silence. A moment of silence for Juha Miettinen, a driver who lost his life during race 1 just the day before. The drivers stood there, helmets in hand, the weight of motorsport's brutal reality pressing down on their shoulders. Then, the lights came on, and somehow they had to go racing again. Qualifying told us everything we needed to know about what was coming. Max Verstappen jumped in the number 3 Mercedes and immediately went P1 in the first session, an 8:27.1, a statement of intent. But this session wasn't about times, it was about saving tires. So the Mercedes was boxed, Verstappen stepped out, and Lucas Auer climbed in for top qualifying, the session that actually sets the grid. Auer delivered a solid 8:13.3. Good enough for P5, not the front row, not pole, 5th. For a 4-time Formula One world champion used to starting at the front of the grid, this was the challenge. But that was just the start, because what happened next reminded every single person watching exactly why Max Verstappen is different from everyone else on a racetrack.
Green light. Verstappen in the 3 Mercedes-AMG GT3 immediately went to work. Turn 1. And he's already slicing through, positioning perfectly, climbing to 4th place before the dust had even settled on the opening corners. Lap 2, that's when the magic happened. He passed the Porsche, clean, calculated, P3. Then a move for 2nd place that had commentators holding their breath. No hesitation, no backing out. In typical Verstappen fashion, he muscled his way through and made it stick. P2 from P5 in 2 laps. But he wasn't done. This is where the story gets dark, or rather where it gets brilliant. By lap 4, Verstappen had his sights on the leader, Christopher Haas in the Audi, the man standing between Verstappen and the race lead. And Verstappen made his move. Clean overtake, decisive, dominant. P1 from P5 in 4 laps. The crowd barely had time to process it, but Haas wasn't giving up that easily. This is where the Nürburgring showed its true character, because great circuits create great battles. Haas came back. Lap 5, he lunged at the dotting arrow looking for a way past Verstappen. The door slammed shut. Lap 6, they went side by side on the Grand Prix circuit itself, 2 professional drivers, neither giving an inch, neither blinking. Verstappen held on, every single time. The battle lasted multiple laps, and every single lap, Verstappen came out on top. Then, on lap 7, the number 3 Mercedes pitted for fuel. No driver change. Verstappen back out. And what he did next was nothing short of extraordinary. He rebuilt the lead. Lap after lap, he stretched the gap. By lap 10, the number 3 Mercedes had a lead of over 32 seconds. 32 seconds! In a race where battles are won and lost by tenths, this was dominance. Then Verstappen came in for his 2nd stop, and the Mercedes was pushed into the garage. This was no ordinary pit stop. The team discovered front splitter damage on the Mercedes-AMG GT3, serious enough that leaving it could have caused something catastrophically worse out on the Nordschleife. As the Verstappen Racing spokesperson confirmed, they brought the car in as a precaution. The repair took over 20 minutes. 20 minutes! A 32-second lead, gone. The race, gone. Speaking after stepping out of the car, Verstappen himself admitted he had no idea where the damage came from. He hadn't hit anything, at least not that he felt. The team would need to go through the data to understand exactly what happened.
One dominant performance, one mechanical mystery, and one brutal result. This wasn't just a disappointing result. The ripple effects run deeper. First, the driver. Verstappen walked away knowing he had the pace. He felt good in the car. The laps he put in were some of the most exciting of the entire weekend. But in endurance racing, pace without reliability means nothing. And that's a lesson that stings, regardless of who you are. Second, the team. Lucas Auer returned to the track after the repairs. His job was no longer about results. It was about laps, experience, preparation. Because the real race, the 24 hours of Nürburgring, is less than a month away. Auer crossed the line in P39, over 4 minutes behind the race winners, the 016 Audi. The same Audi that Verstappen had overtaken for the lead just laps earlier. That detail alone tells you everything about how cruel motorsport can be. Third, the bigger picture. This weekend was the final preparation for the big one, and while the result column reads P39, the data, the pace, and the racecraft of Max Verstappen tells a very different story. The question now is whether the team can fix what broke before it breaks again on the longest night in motorsport. Because the Nordschleife doesn't forgive second chances. So, where does this go from here? Scenario 1, Verstappen Racing analyzes the data, identifies the splitter issue, and arrives at the 24-hour race with a bulletproof car. Verstappen does what Verstappen does, and the Nürburgring gets a fairy tale ending. Scenario 2, the damage was a symptom of something deeper in the car's setup. The 24-hour race exposes it again at the worst possible moment, and a legend's endurance dream ends before it truly begins. Scenario 3, the number 16 Audi and its team watched everything this weekend. They saw the pace, they saw the threat, and now they're preparing for a very different kind of battle next month because they know what's coming. Was this truly just bad luck, or a warning sign the team couldn't afford to ignore? Can a 4-time Formula One world champion translate qualifying magic into 24-hour endurance survival? And when the lights go out at the Nürburgring next month, will the number 3 Mercedes be a contender or a cautionary tale? One thing is certain, Max Verstappen came to the Nordschleife and reminded everyone exactly what he's capable of. The real test is whether his car can keep up with him. This season isn't about who's fastest, it's about who survives. So, tell me, do you think Verstappen Racing can fix it in time for the 24 hours? Drop your prediction in the comments. I'll be reading every single one.